Hi, everybody. So, I'm back. Sorry I was gone. Most people are just like, I don't really care why you've been gone. I'm here with you now. Sorry, this is my husband's phone. He forgot it, and it's going to be loud. So, I was thinking of a whole host of topics. One little random factoid about the Queen of Spades. So, we were playing cribbage the other day, and I noticed that the Queen of Spades was holding a card in her hand as though it was part of her garment. Does anyone know what this card is and why she's holding it? There are the other queens. So she is holding, and we're going to look at all the other queens too, just out of curiosity. The Queen of appears to be holding the Six of Spades. Those look like spades. I know they're like little Christmas trees, but that just kind of seems to be how they present in the pictures. And yeah, they do look like trees. And it was kind of channeled to me by Olney Richmond or somebody up there that knows about the cards that the spades do represent the tree, and all how in an alchemical way all four of the elements go into the tree to create this physical thing. So that's why, yeah, spades are all encompassing. So anyway, why is she holding the Six of Spades? Well, we know that she represents self-mastery, power that has been achieved through through taking responsibility for your own sovereignty, for your own life, that your consciousness has created your life. That's what Robert Camp goes off on about that. Oh, she also has clubs in her hat. Tell me what else you observe about this. She seems to have a diamond on her scepter, and somebody commented and made a point about that. Do we see any hearts anywhere? I don't see any hearts. Maybe in her lapel. No. That's interesting. I don't know why she wouldn't have any hearts there, but anyway, the clubs in the crown represent wisdom. And the Queen of Clubs also has clubs in her crown as well as covering her garment. She does have the Three of Spades in her cuff of her sleeve. So this is a very interesting study. Okay, I think the Queen of Spades has the Six of Spades. Oh, why am I blurry all of a sudden? That's really weird. Here. There. I think she has the Six of Spades because dealing with karma, all sixes are about work, responsibility, agreements. And I think it's like I get this image of her reaching back to that six that's behind her and holding it with a kind of leveled realism to say, what karma am I here to deal with? What are my agreements? What are my responsibilities? What did I come here to follow through on? So that's just an interesting thought. Okay, the scepter of the diamond. Somebody made a point about that. I can't remember what it is, but I think it has to do with her power. Like she's not holding it, it's sitting next to her. And I think it's a demonstration of some kind of power. And I would interpret that to be integrity, that she rules with integrity according to her values. She's holding a flower. When I was a kid, I looked up these cards or came across something about them because I was a nut for like solitaire and nerds and those anything that had to do with the cards. And each one of the flowers was identified, and each queen is holding a different kind of flower. Her flower has red, yellow, and a little blue. I don't know what it is, but I think. Oh, I'm so sorry. I have to get this call.
A different direction.
Hey, Kathy.
Hi, Paula. What are you going to do with the list?
What?
Paula, I haven't left yet, so I'll stop by. And Maddie's here, and he says hi.
Okay.
I'll stop by and pick up Stuart's phone, eh?
Oh,
Charge it up.
terrific. Okay, thank you.
I somehow thought he was going to come here to cut this wood. So I was sort of waiting around.
Oh,
I guess he went to the job site.
he probably did. He was really scattered this morning. Anyway, I'm in the middle of doing a live, so okay, I'll just set the phone by the door.
Sorry.
No worries.
Bye.
Okay, bye. Handled. Okay, so moving on to the other queens. Does anybody else have any other observations? It would be interesting to talk to somebody who's the Queen of Spades and just kind of see how they resonate with the Six of Spades. We do have a Six of Spades female who watches these videos, Sharon. So I would ask her about this, like, what's your relationship to the Queen of Spades? Oh, the obvious thing to do is to see how they're aspected in the pure spread. Okay, so here's the Queen of Spades up here in the pinnacle, and the 6 is here. So Mercury, Venus, Mars, Jupiter, Saturn, Uranus. It's a Uranus connection. It's about consciousness, awareness. She heads up the Uranus line in the mundane spread, so I think Uranus plays a big part with this card. The 6 of Spades in the mundane spread sits in the 9 of Spades house, so that would be Mercury, Venus, Mars. There's a Mars connection there, so passionate about enlightenment. Okay. Hey, what's up? You just looked at my other video? Yeah, and I didn't draw. I said I would draw one of these cards. So on my other channel, I just talked about kind of the chaos going on. You'll have to hit the fast forward button when I'm looking in my email, because I'm looking for the chapter that I wrote on depression recently in my Little Things book, which popped me up out of it. I think there's a lot of intensity in the air, and I think there's just a lot going on out there, and I think we are being intentionally targeted to bring down our vibes. So I think I made that video because I think it's really important for us to have some tools in our tool belt, some quick handy weapons in our arsenal. My particular thing is discouragement, negative thinking, depression. So the tools that I talk about, I think, can be really helpful. So anyway, that's over on my other channel, just by my name, Paula Krueger. Okay, so let's look at another queen. Let's look at the Queen of Diamonds. Let's descend in order here. So here's her card. She has clubs in her hat. I'm not really seeing, I'm seeing a lot of square. I don't see, okay, there's a sun. Yeah, I don't see any other suits in her hand, but it's a lovely flower with a little red center, and that's very cool. The Queen of Hearts also has a flower with a red center. Women are the intentional targets, queens especially. Yeah, it's an interesting connection with what I just said. I think that women, well, everyone's a target with the powers that are soon to be they're on their way out, but they're very yeah, they've been screwing with the feminine for centuries, for eons. Why? It's a good question. I mean, I think we all have answers to that, but yeah, so the queens represent a more internal sense of power, a sense of foundation within the self. The kings represent more of an external. This is just very simple yin and yang. The kings represent an external arrangement, organization, power over what's outside of them, I think. The queen, which precedes the king, which implies in your path of development, it's important to incorporate the Queen of Spades wisdom on your way to the king. And that's what we see a lack of in a lot of masculine leadership. And some men have taken that queen to heart. The internal mastery, the more nurturing side, the maternal aspect of that card. So Dr. Sue says this year plate 68 hits all the queens. We need to talk. Yeah. Do let's. So let's look at, okay, yeah, 68. I have it handy here. So for the United States, the Jack of Diamonds is sitting down in the home of the Nine of Spades. No queens ascending, but descending, I only see one queen. So tell me what you're thinking, Dr. Sue. The X hits all the queens. Oh, so you just take the plate as a whole, irrespective of the Jack of Diamonds, and you draw a big X through all the middle of them. So yeah, I'd say those cards are worth looking at and thinking about. Dr. Sue is a really good poster child for just looking at the cards, approaching it intuitively, going, not according to a formula, but just what do I see? And then, see what you get from that. The Queen of Diamonds sits Jupiter, Jupiter. So I would say accessing our feminine as a nation, lifting up the yin, really doing the work of delving into that for ourselves, I think is the Jupiter, Jupiter. And maybe the blessing is going to come through the Queen of Diamonds somehow. So that's interesting. Okay, let's see where the Queen of Spades sits this year, since we're looking at that. She is, why can I not see? Oh, she's not in the X. She is right above where she sits in the mundane spread. She's sitting in the home of the Three of Diamonds, which is interesting because we know who the Three of Diamonds is. So that's a very powerful placement right there. Okay. The Queen of Clubs transformation card for the Queen of Clubs is the Queen of Spades. I see. Yes, Jupiter, Saturn, Jupiter, Saturn. Yep. Transformation or activation, which reminds me, I had a question from a Four of Diamonds in my last stream. What is her activation card? And it's the transformation card. It's 4 after the Pluto. So for the Four of Diamonds descending, that would be Mercury, Venus, Mars, Jupiter, Saturn, Uranus, Neptune, Pluto, Jupiter, Saturn, Jupiter. It'd be to the 10 of Spades. So the 10 of Spades people would really activate you. And I know they're kind of rare. So let's look at your ascending. That'd be the 3 of Spades. There are definitely more 3 of Spades in the world. So they would be really triggering, activating, kind of shaking things about your potential to the surface is kind of how I feel about the activation card. So the Queen of Clubs is sitting in the 68th plate. She's sitting in horizontal Mars, vertical Mars, 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 the home of the Four of Clubs. So she's resting on logic, common sense, wisdom, seeing things clearly, I think, having a little more objectivity, but it's also a caution not to get stuck in the ruts of your old thinking. The Four of Clubs is, I've always believed this way, so I'm going to keep believing this way because this makes sense to me. So, right, the transformation card, the Queen of Spades, is calling that Queen of Clubs to Dr. Sue. I'm so glad you came on here because I wasn't thinking about how the queens were in this plate, doing her own inner work and saying, okay, is my perspective skewed because I've got some attachment about something? Yeah. So, and the Queen of Diamonds, Mercury, Venus, Mars, Jupiter, the Queen of Spades is Jupiter to the Queen of Diamonds. They have a Jupiter connection. So the Queen of Spades ascending to the Queen of Diamonds, she would have to say, am I really in my integrity here? Okay, the Pluto of the Queen, okay, Pluto. So it's double Saturn, the Queen of Clubs, Queen of Hearts to each other. And the Queen of Clubs, Queen of Diamonds are Pluto. So I would say women are really going to be super, super activating to each other this year. And what I've already seen What I've already seen is that female relationships, even ones that haven't been challenging, may be a little bit more challenging right now. I have some wonderful relationships with some women in my life where there has been nothing of that sort. No friction, just like this. I need this person in my life a little bit more than I've needed them before. And then there are other relationships which are really being used to trigger you to do the work. Interesting. And yeah, I'm not going to say anything about men at this point because this is just what I'm seeing. So when those triggers do come along, validate what you're feeling, but also get a little distance on it and say, okay, why am I so in my feelings about this? Why am I so triggered? Is there an unhealed aspect of myself that really is trying to tell me something? Is there something I need to look at? And yeah, I got an image in my mind this morning of doing that work. For some reason, I was just kind of mulling over this response that one can have that is not destructively critical about yourself and like, oh my God, okay. So I went to church yesterday with my dear friend Kathy, my neighbor, and I got into the women's Bible study last winter through the spring, and it was so grounding for me. And these women were so non-judgmental and kind, and it was the connection that I needed. And when I was at church yesterday, I came away in the afternoon, had a wonderful time, cried. It was great. Came home, and then I began ruminating on how how they might be judging me. And I just saw myself go up into that old program of my mother's. And I'm like, oh my God, it was running like a freight train through my mind at about 4 a.m. And I thought, okay, the way to deal with this is to turn, look at it, take a realistic look at myself and say, what can I see here? Okay, what have I actually heard them say to me about my presence in the group? It's all been positive. Very deeply, observantly, like legitimate type of affirmation. And then, I was like, okay, this thing that I'm uncomfortable about is this something I need to check myself? Like I did use an F-bomb in our last gathering. And they're all so nice, but I'm like, okay, maybe I need to just sort of rein that in. But it's about taking the realistic perspective. And so that's the wisdom of the Queen of Clubs because okay, she has the 3 of Clubs in her hat, the 3 of Spades on her cuff, but she's displacing the 4 of Clubs this year. So that's why I said that. Be realistic in your assessment of everything. So let's look at her for a second. Okay, the 3 of Spades means, and the Queen of Clubs I do know are actuators. That 3 of Spades on her cuff right here. They get things done. They ask the question, what do I need to do right now? And they're on it. They're people of action. And probably because their home is Jupiter, Jupiter. And it's just like, there's just this ascending energy about them. It's just contagious to be with the Queen of Clubs about the possibilities. They're wonderful to have in your life. Their energy does tend to run really fast. Okay, they have the 5 of Clubs on their garment over their heart. Okay, so the action of the hand is the 3 of Spades. The 5 of Clubs is across their torso. See that? And I would say 3 on her left and 2 on her right. So the right side of the heart would be the masculine, and this is the objective back and forth communication. The 3 of Clubs on the left side of the heart is we're going to consider all possibilities and openness. And the 5 of Clubs together is it really is a kind of adventure and knowledge, an attitude of alacrity towards awakening, learning something new. What is it that I don't know yet? And here that 5 of Clubs sits as Venus to her. So this is a love of hers, is learning. This is really fun. I didn't expect this to be so rich. Who else is watching? Give a little hello, a little shout out. Wow, that was some huge uncovering. Okay, let's look at the Queen of Hearts. Sorry, Queen of Diamonds. Okay, they have the Two of Clubs in their hat. They have 1.5 suns on their sleeve. I would say 1.5 suns. Well, and some weird symbols. So the Eight of Diamonds is the sun card. So that would be 1.5 would be 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 would be the Queen of Diamonds. Does she have herself? Hi, Eden. Does she have herself on her sleeve? The sun card, the 8 of Diamonds plus it's half of itself again. Hi, Brenda. Thank you guys for checking in. So is the Queen of Diamonds' greatest strength to be herself? Authenticity? I think so. That's the thing I like about diamond females is they tend to be, they're just real. They don't have it easy. They're sitting there in the Saturn line, having a difficult life, and they're usually very grounded about it. Sometimes they can be kind of negative, complaining. They tend to see dark or negative things, and then how do they deal with that? Kind of based on their own card. So I'm talking all diamond females. The 7 of Diamonds is likely to sort of surf over it or see it and get stuck on it, get attached. That person's always going to be that way. Or just see the shiny side of it. Okay, let's move to the Queen of Hearts. So she has this interesting symbol. Again, there's a partial club. I don't know if that was meant to be cut off, but she has the 3 of Clubs in her hat. See that? The 3 of Clubs in her hat. And so maybe it's partial because it's developing. The 3 of Clubs is like they really do look like plants growing up. Fresh little plants. And maybe that is the action of burgeoning learning, new learning. The 3 of Clubs is the ability to toss concepts around in your head. So maybe it's like heart females are in that space of like, okay, I'm developing my ability to toss things around. So in this spread, we know that they have these very strong cards as their first 3 cards. So here they are down here. So they have Mercury, Venus, Mars. Their Mercury is the 10 of Clubs. So they tend to be very fixed in how they think. Very powerful mind and very passionate about what they believe. The 8 of Diamonds and Venus means, again, power, control, sometimes being an asshole. The King of Spades fixed card in Mars means it's not likely, you're not likely to change them, and they're powerhouses as they move forward. So this is very difficult work for the Queen of Hearts, is to have this 3 of Clubs in their hat to say, okay, I'm going to toss these ideas around and say, maybe it's not what I think it is. Some flexibility there. Are there any other symbols? Okay, she has flowers on her sleeve. She has this interesting geometric pattern on her sleeve, a longer sleeve than any of them. Really hard to identify that. I don't recognize any of the other symbols, although okay, if I had a super magnifier, or I can take a picture and expand it, you see in this brace that goes across her collar, it's a checkerboard pattern, and there's a circle in one of them, and then in the dark checkerboards there is a symbol, but I can't see it because it's kind of darkened out. So the circle in the square is actually a very powerful symbol of a kind of completeness or wholeness. So let's talk about the Queen of Hearts in the 68th plate. So how our heart female is going to fare this year. I'm going to back up to the Queen of Diamonds. So diamond females, Jupiter, a lot will be expected of you this year. I think there's going to be this I mean, instantly I just get this pulling forth from them, from their hearts. What is your potential? What could you create? What are you here to give? What is your beneficence? What are you here to bless the world with? And I definitely am being called to that through the writing of my book. It's important to ask for help. Diamond females, very important to delegate. That's the downfall of the 10 of diamonds. Who lives there, is renting that in the mundane spread, is that they don't know how to ask for help or to delegate. You may feel super competent at a lot of things this year, but remember to ask for help. And so, yeah, 10 of diamonds, queen of clubs are your buddies, are your energies that you're working with. So 10 of diamonds is like this abundance. How big can I get? A desire. And I've felt a huge focus on my desires in the last couple of weeks. And I've realized, I mean, ever since my birthday, actually, in August, there's a real push toward manifesting in my life that, it kind of comes and goes. And I'm so focused on manifesting. And I think it's because that 10 of diamonds is activating my sense of desire, while the queen of clubs is feeding me wisdom, giving me downloads. There's a lot coming through with that. And it can be overwhelming to sit there. Okay, the queen of clubs is Mars. So you're going to feel, club women are going to feel very passionately activated to do stuff this year. Again, self-care, take a bath, take a break. It's a lot of go, go, go. Maybe tendency towards conflict, anger, accessing your masculine side. I don't know, what else? What are the club females experiencing out there in that position? And the 4 of clubs and 6 of hearts are your buddies that you're working with. So working with your stuck ideas, what can you kind of loosen up? And how can you offer a sense of grounding, comfort, common sense to other people? That's 4 of clubs. 6 of hearts is, what are your karmic relationships asking of you? What is your assignment? If you're having trouble in any relationship, dial down into that question. What's my assignment here? What am I supposed to get? What am I supposed to receive, give, see about myself? Queen of Hearts is sitting, so she's sitting in the other corner. So normally she lives down here, or this is important, she is Saturn to her home placement. So this is her home that she owns. The King of Hearts is sitting there this year. So heart females are going to be very challenged by the heart males in their life. The older ones, the grown-up ones, they're going to throw you, I'm not a curveball, but like a, oof, it's going to really hit you and be like, oh, I got to look at this thing about myself. This is a huge challenge. You're going to be teachers to each other. There's a development between the masculine and feminine, having conversations, open up your mind, take a new perspective. There's some transformation, possibly heartbreak, disappointment. This is a very dynamic relationship. However, see, the whole royal family is there. The Jack of Hearts is Jupiter to her. So young heart males will be a very soothing blessing to the Queen of Hearts, saying, you're okay, Mom. I have a lot of respect for you. You're an amazing person. What's making me say this for the females and males? Okay, so in the 68th plate, which is the United States this year, the Queen of Hearts, we're talking about how all the queens are placed. The Queen of Hearts is sitting here, and if you look in her descending hand, Mercury, Venus, Mars, Jupiter, Saturn, the King of Hearts is sitting in her Saturn, but more importantly, in the pure spread, this is the home of the Queen of Hearts. So yeah, the King of Hearts lives here. So he's sitting right next to himself. He's going to have a karmic conversation with himself. So the Queen of Hearts is like Saturn to herself, but she's also Saturn to her masculine self and to the men. So Denise, I hope that makes it clear. You're welcome. Okay, I think this is interesting. She's got the 10 of diamonds as either moon or ascending Mercury. So that gives her a very tight relationship to the Queen of Diamonds here, who's sitting in the 10 of diamonds spot. She's also Mercury, Venus, Mars, Jupiter. She's Jupiter from the Queen of Clubs / 3 of Hearts. Oh, the Three of Diamonds is sitting there. Mercury, Venus, Mars, Jupiter. Because hearts are people, Queen of Hearts would represent the female population of the United States. And the DJT card is ascending Jupiter to her. And I would say he and his policies could be an explosive boom to their small business. Think about that. That is interesting. I know what what's her name's card is, but oh, she's karma. She's karma to the women. She is here. See her down here sitting in the Queen of Hearts place. She's here to agitate, I think, women and really get them to ask a whole bunch of questions. What's her history? What is she presenting? How does she make me feel about myself? What is she bringing up for me? It's really hard for me to not, go into how I feel about her. I mean, I think there's a good chance it's not even her. I think most of the people we see on the stage are doubles. There's so much else happening in the background, but her brand, I think, is here to really, I don't know, stir women up. And I do think that there's a huge, I think there's a polarization of opinion around her. So yeah, I think women having conversations about her is a real, I'm just seeing like a real crackling fire. Sparks could fly. Mercury, Venus, Mars, Jupiter, Saturn, Uranus. So there's a Uranus connection between them. So definitely agitating to awaken. So anyhow, yeah, I was just thinking about the 300,000 unaccounted for little ones that cross the border, that they can't account for them. They don't know where they are. And that's, we could say that's on her. And I think that is just absolutely massive. So that's all I'll say about that. Okay, getting away from politics. So the Queen of Spades remains. And thank you for sailing with me through that. I tend to get pretty triggered if people say things I don't agree with, and I walk away in a huff, and that's my Queen of Diamonds, and I apologize for that. And I'm so happy to see that the majority of women are not like that. They're just like, whatever, let's move on. So thank you for that. Okay, although the view count just went down too. Sorry. Okay, let's look at the Queen of Spades. So she's displacing Three of Diamonds again, the DJT. But let's see, that is Saturn, Mercury. So she's displacing the Queen of Diamonds. The queens are so karmic to each other. This is just intense. So the Queen of Diamonds, okay, Queen of Spades and Queen of Diamonds are going to be having a conversation this year. Let me think. Thank you, Denise. That's very kind of you. What's your card? I tend to be like, Anyway, yeah, that's the Seven of Diamonds. Who are the spade females that I know? How are they activating me? I can't think of any. Can you think of Queen of Spades or spade females in your life? Spade diamond. Let's look at that relationship. Okay, it's about speaking the truth to each other. I think that's a really big piece of it. Because the Mercury-Saturn intersection is, I mean, this is what Queen of Diamonds do. They see the truth. They can't help themselves. It comes out of their mouth. And their life is about developing kindness and discernment around that functionality. The Queen of Spades is calling her to some self-mastery with that. And I'm telling you, the freight train going through my head this morning, it was political. And it was, wake the hell up. How, what did this country look like between 2016 and 2020? How did you feel about your taxes? How did you feel about the lack of global war? I mean, I was just going, I just couldn't stop myself. And the Queen of Spades says, rein yourself in. and take responsibility for wherever this is coming from and where it needs to go. Do you need to make a video? Do you need to step out and cross the breach of the fear of disapproval? Yeah. So the Queen of Diamonds represents service-oriented business in this country. Oh, Dr. Sue sent me a message. I love you. I love you, Dr. Sue. The Queen Club. Okay, so if the Queen of Diamonds is sitting in the home, or the Queen of Spades, sorry. Oh, this is just all such a package. I don't know how this just deserves so much exploration. Okay. Okay, thank you very much, Dr. Sue. Okay, so the Queen of Spades and the Queen of Diamonds, service-oriented businesses and self-mastery. Okay, so this is the realm of nonprofits, businesses with a conscience, with a soul. This is a very exciting development because this is apolitical. It should be apolitical. Like, let's talk about gardening. Let's talk about feeding the homeless. Let's talk about taking care of people wherever you find them. Now, I do have overwhelmingly strong, frustrating feelings. Okay, I live in Colorado. Aurora is a huge, what do you call it, within Denver. I grew up on the other side of town, but the whole city's kind of going to shit, and it's really sad. And there are 3 apartment buildings that have been taken over by a Venezuelan gang. Is it a cartel? And there's a video of them with AK-47s demanding rent from the people that live there. And I think there are a lot of Venezuelan illegals there. It's just, I mean, and the illegal population in Denver is just this thousands of people rotating between hotels that are being paid for by our tax dollars back to a tent city. And then, I mean, it's insane. And this was preventable. And this is what it has led to. And I'm just like, oh, so I pray. I was talking to my friend at church about this yesterday morning. I was like, do you know about this? And she votes on the other side of the aisle. And she's like, yeah, I'm really disturbed, especially when the police denied that anything was happening. And I'm like, this has been going on for a month. Hell's Angels have decided to converge on this location to handle it. And I'm like, pray, just keep praying. So it's like, oh my God. Watching me on the big screen. Oh, I'm so big. Here's a hug, Dr. Sue. I love you. Just kills me. She sent me a video of me on the big screen. I'm like, whoa, I never wanted to be that big. Can you imagine being a movie star looking up at the big screen and go, my nostrils are like bigger than my head. Anyway, so the Queen of Spades, Queen of Hearts, 3 of Diamonds, all sitting there is about what the image I'm getting is expanding the versatility of our businesses, the service-oriented businesses, and maybe a lot of things growing out of that. How can we help? Where can we help? I mean, when I was sitting in church yesterday, and I don't normally think like this, they flashed up some kind of program up on the screen, and there was a picture of 3 beautiful young people and their backdrop looked like Denver. It was a city, and I was like, maybe they're gonna plan something about going down there and like helping people out or feeding them, and I just had this sudden urge to participate in something like that, which is so unlike me. Okay, enough about that. So that's kind of exciting. Okay, so what would the Queen of Spades represent as a population in the United States? Administrative, governmental bodies. I did say nonprofit, and that felt right because she heads up the Uranus line. They're saying, look at how certain cards are aspected to her in this spread. Okay, crown line. So obviously it represents kind of a CEO type thing. Okay, CEOs being put under the microscope. You know, all the banks shutting down recently is huge. I mean, the truth coming out. And did you hear about that? There was a news anchor, and they found CP on his computer and evidence of some really disgusting things. I mean, things like that are coming out. And I think, the massive list of CEOs that have been stepping down, but this is about things becoming visible. This is about the truth coming out. So the Queen of Spades is a strategist, Dr. Sue says. Yeah, it's responsibility, looking out over everything. I think it's about the reveal. I think it's about the truth about some of these things. Hi, baby. Here's my puppy. Come here, little Three of Hearts. Come here. Come here. Come. She's such a Three of Hearts. She's Mercury. Mercury. Okay, does anybody want to ask about their specific card and where it's placed in the 68th spread and how you might be related to the Kings, Queens, Jacks in a general way? Where are you sitting? So, okay, look at this. The Queen of Hearts in this diagonal X. All the cards in these diagonals are important, but the Queen of Diamonds is Mars to the Queen of Hearts. So if you're a heart-diamond combination, which I am, you might have a contentious relationship with yourself and a need to get your ass moving. Let's see. Jupiter is the Jack of Spades, so there's some transformation happening there. King of Clubs. Okay. King relies on the Queen of Spades to do the hard work. Yeah. Yeah. Okay, so it's also that aspect of government which needs to take responsibility and ownership. It's not just about giving out the orders. It's about really looking into the heart and the essence of who and what she is and what she's there for, and like the essence of the United States. The founding principles, the best things about this country. Yeah, so the Queen of Spades. Mercury, Venus, Mars, Jupiter, Saturn, Uranus. In the Uranus line, they hold up either end of the Uranus line. So she's like, hey, how can we make things better and leave a legacy of consciousness? And the Jack of Diamonds is at the end of that, saying, oh, I've got all kinds of dreams and ideas and visions about that, because he's Neptune. She's Mercury. She's thinking. And he's dreaming. The American dream. So she would be his ascending. Okay, the Queen of Spades is the ascending call of all Americans, is to take responsibility for yourself. And even though there's so much that's effed up about this country, there have been so many movements in this country about awakening, about, I'm thinking about authors like in the self-help movement, from Wayne Dyer to Bradshaw and the whole love thing. And the list is endless. And granted, we've had a lot of contribution from everybody all over the world, but I think this country really does have an urge towards getting it better, getting it right, improving on our performance. And yeah, there's a lot of performance shit that goes in there because we have the personality of this Three of Spades that sits under the Jack of Diamonds. We have a personality of a 3, which is bent on achievement. And the ego feels that it needs that achievement and celebrity in order to be loved. But the upside of it is just actuating our art, actuating your unique thing. So that's really the essence of the Jack of Diamonds of this country, is like, let's create something. So that's kind of cool. Let's look at the Jack of Diamonds in particular this year, sitting down here in the bottom of the spread, displacing the Nine of Spades. So the Nine of Spades is death and ending. So what is it that has to die this year? And get your cash stash, get your food stash. God knows what's going to happen, especially between now and November. It's not going to be a normal November. There are just a lot of bombs being lobbed from side to side. And I think that it's out in space too. There's a huge battle happening. So take care of yourself. And the Six of Clubs is the other buddy there, which is like, okay, this ending is scripted. This is karmic. and be the calming baffled in the waterbed that just keeps everybody calm when all this shit is happening. So is your card aspected to the Jack of Diamonds this year? It's flanked by the Two of Clubs and the Four of Diamonds. So if you want to tell me your card, I can tell you what's going on for you this year here. So what's mine? Mercury, Venus, Mars, Jupiter, Jupiter, Saturn. I'm the PI. I've figured that out before. I've named it the PI, the personal ideal. So the personal ideal, I'm the poster child for what everybody should be after. But it's the archetype of the Seven of Diamonds is about, I embrace my unique shape. I don't need to compare myself to anyone anymore. I'm strange, I'm odd, but everybody is. Everybody's DNA is unique. So that Seven of Diamonds is about, okay, this is where wealth comes from, is the expression of my unique self. And how do we honor that in society? Eden says, look at the King of Diamonds as it's aspected. So this will answer the question, big business, corporations, how are they related? So Mercury, Venus, Mars, Jupiter. It's a vertical Jupiter connection. I need a little pointer. Here's my little pointer. Okay, so here's the Jack of Diamonds, Mercury, Venus, Mars, Jupiter. So there's a Jupiter connection. So it means that big business is going to do well this year, ultimately. And yet banks are failing. Maybe Jupiter is about helping them to be all they can be. Maybe this is about a different financial system. So you as a King of Diamonds stand to do really well in business this year, to do very well financially. It's a calling on you to be the blessing as well. How can I, and the Queen of Diamonds sitting there, okay, so if you're a diamond female, the Queen of Diamonds is sitting there in the Jupiter in the position of blessings. So Eden, the question for you is all about, and I would say all diamond females, because our whole family, right? We're talking Jack of Diamonds, Queen of Diamonds, King of Diamonds, all of your archetypes. There's a triad here around how can we be the blessing. And I just can't help but think that that has to do with truth. Queen of Diamonds pushing forward a little bit more. Diamond females pushing the envelope a little bit with asking questions. Are you aware of this? Are you aware of that? Do you know that this is happening? Have you asked this question? Have you looked here? I mean, from a personal to a global level. So I sent a series of videos to some friends that I realized were really on the verge of being able to see the whole picture. And this guy is ex-military, and he's been figuring things out gradually, but what I sent him was an absolute bomb. And I know that I can't even come close to saying it here. So I'm going to write it down. Yep, it's that big. And if you're ready to really, really get the truth bomb, look this up on Rumble. This woman was killed, or she went into hiding. She made about 25 of these. And this is the name of the series. Look it up on Rumble. There's like 25. And it's heavy duty. But the fact that there was a readiness there for me to send them that information, it was like, oh, this is amazing. Because to me, it says that the illusion and the fear of punishment, the matrix, all of that is just, it has less power and less control. Okay, so does anybody else want to ask about their card and how it's aspected this year? So I tried to cover the big archetypes. We haven't talked about the jacks. So the creative and the inner child. So the Jack of Spades, if you're a spade, you're in this big X. You are Venus to the Queen of Spades. And the King of Spades is way far away. Daddy gone. So the Queen of Spades has the spade people are going to be creating. They're going to be overhauling something from a place of heart, from a place of friendship. Jeff, how important is the two cards for the relationship and how it's connected to any other card in the mundane position? Robert, hi. You know, I did title this your moon card and your relationship to it. Or did I get the queen title? Played with a lot of titles this morning because I didn't know where we were going to go. So, how important is the 2 cards for the relationship? So, clarify, Jeff, what do you mean and how its connection to any other card in their mundane position? So, is it the karma cards? The karma cards are very individual to meaning connection. Oh, how important is the connection card for the relationship and how is it connected to any other card there in the mundane position? Are you talking about what this 68 spread and how we're talking about this? Jeff, I'm sorry, I don't understand your question. So I didn't mention the moon. Okay. So the karma cards, when I talk about the 2 cards, like let's just look at the Ace of Hearts. It's sitting in the home of the 5 of Hearts, and the karma card is the 5 of Clubs. So you look at that and you go, okay, the inner child is going to be challenged with these 2 things. I say challenged with because, well, I should say confronted with, because some things are very easy. And it's, hi, Kathy. Here it is. Thank you. So it's a matter of just that issue is going to be, okay, let's look at the 8 of Diamonds in the crown. So the inner child is going to be confronted with that part of them that's like, oh, I want to stay in bed. I want to eat chocolate. I don't want to work today. And I've been watching my husband do that. And I've been watching myself do that. So it's like that inner child energy. It wants to be indulged, but it's also very curious. It's very ADD. It's going to have this 5 of Clubs. I don't know. I don't know what I want. I don't know what I think. I don't know where I need to go. That's a very interesting thing. So everyone's inner child, those are the 2 energies that they're dealing with. And sometimes they have the energy figured out and sometimes they don't. So the 8 of Diamonds in the crown. Okay, so the 5 of Diamonds is sitting there right now. So all 8 of Diamonds will have a 5 of Diamonds influence, which is more of that 5 energy of like, I don't know what I want. Maisie, I don't know what I should want. I think I need a change. I'm feeling restless. That's a very difficult energy for any 8, any even card. Although 8s in their placements do tend to have more odd cards in their hands, so they're a little bit more flexible when it comes to, I need to pivot. I see that I need to make a change. So they may be making a change. And also the CEO position of the world this year, all that controlling, what do you call that? The birds, whatever, where you sit, is going to have a change of values. It's going to have a change. Okay, so where does the 8 of Diamonds? Okay, and Queen of Spades, 8 of Diamonds. So you kind of look at that trio. So let's look at the 8 of Diamonds where it sits this year. I'm talking about the mundane spread or world spread. Oh, okay. All right. So if you just go here and you just want to talk about the 8 of Diamonds in general and what are the energies they have to deal with. So the Queen of Spades, it's sitting in the Queen of Spades position. So obviously that's a really big thing that they have to deal with. And that's about taking responsibility for themselves. They're putting truth, the archetype of the advocate. It's a really powerful lawyer kind of energy. And they're pairing that with the Queen of Spades, which says, what's the most important thing that needs to happen here? How can we be in our integrity? How can the best possible thing happen? Like I'm thinking of the most virtuous court setting you can imagine, with a righteous judge, a righteous advocate, someone that's being advocated for, and they figure out the right thing to happen. There's also a call to really own their stuff as an 8 of Diamonds, because they do tend to gravitate to leadership and power positions. So it's extremely important for them to do their work. around consciousness. Okay, so what's the other karma card? The other karma card is the Seven of Clubs. And the reason I say that is because the Seven of Clubs sits here. No, wait. It's here. It's sitting in the home. So the Eight of Diamonds home, their home is not the pinnacle. They're just renting. They're playing that role of the, well, okay, what does it feel like in the pinnacle here? When they're living closer to their essence, they are feeling the intersection of Saturn and Uranus. That's what that position is for. Thoughts about divine purpose. What am I here for? What's the work that I'm supposed to do? And Uranus is about consciousness. What's my role in the realm of raising consciousness? So, a life coach, a spiritual life coach is like a really good summation of that. So, what is the Seven of Clubs and how does that come into it? So, the Seven of Clubs is discernment, clarity. Okay, Cosmic Sunflower. Yes, I'll get to that question in a second. So, the Seven of Clubs can also be negativity. And I was just thinking about this before I went on. I thought, okay, today is the Nine of Diamonds. At first, I thought it was the Eight of Diamonds. And I was like, we talked about eights not too long ago. But the one thing I wanted to throw out there is that sevens and eights have a karmic relationship throughout the whole spread, which is for eights to do the discernment work, to look at their attachments, and for the sevens to realize that there's a controlling aspect in their manipulations. It's also a heads up around negativity, especially mental programs and negativity that can really suck the life out of you. So it's an Eight of Diamonds. Okay, so Jeff, I hope that answers some questions. With the Four of Diamonds as my moon card, does this translate to themes like stable? You're welcome, Jeff. Like stable financial support, helping others? Yes. Okay. What is your card, Cosmic Sunflower? Are you talking about this year, the 68th spread, or are you talking about that you are the Four of Hearts or the Two of Spades? Or you could be the Five or Six. It could be the Three or Five of Diamonds too. Oh, okay, Two of Spades. Thank you. So with that Four of Diamonds next to you, so the way I titled the video is let's look at our moon relationships. There can be an inherent tension there, and I'll explain that in a minute. But yeah, the Four of Diamonds as an ascending Mercury card means a service role that you would have would be about helping people figure out the answer to this question. How can I create security for myself around what I really want and what's really important to me? Building a foundation. And because the Four of Diamonds, this year, for some reason, that was, yeah, the Four of Diamonds is sitting next to the Jack of Diamonds. So as Americans, everyone's going to be called to this exact same placement that you have for life, Cosmic Sunflower. This is fascinating. Excellent that you brought that out, because all of us are going to be asked, how can I create stability for this person with my words, with my communication style? How can I help this person realize that they're safe? They have everything that they need, even if it's the bare minimum. If we're going to go through some kind of financial crisis, we're going to really need each other, and we're going to get down to the essence of what's really important. Just in case the water is not available, get one of those filtration straws. I've been thinking about this for years, go to a camping place, and that'd be a good idea to have that on hand. But yeah, it's about creating stability for people around realizing that they have enough. The Four of Diamonds means just enough with maybe a little bit to spare. The Eight of Diamonds is power with having enough, like having, and 10 of Diamonds is huge abundance. So each one of those diamonds represents something about your finances. The reason that there is tension, like if you encounter a Four of Diamonds or an Eight of Hearts, these two cards that flank you, is because their spread is right next to you. So it means that Your Venus card is their Mercury card. Your Mars card is their Venus card. So the Six of Spades, you have to achieve your karmic thing. You have to take action with it. And it's kind of like, it's more serious. It's like the career thing. Well, that same card is Venus to the Eight of Hearts. So they're more likely to say, what did I agree to do? If I sink into my place of, well, you have to love it. Just whatever you want to do, you'll be fulfilling some kind of karmic agreement. I know an Eight of Hearts who's in her 70s who is finally seizing upon doing a kind of life's work right now that she absolutely loves, and it's healing vets and a lot of spiritual healing, and it's just like, oh my God. And she got there by answering the question, what do I really want to do? So the inherent tension between Venus and Mars, between Mars and Jupiter, between Jupiter and Saturn, your Jupiter will be their Saturn, or vice versa. So that's why there's kind of an inherent tension with the card right next to you, your moon card. It's like you can open doors for each other to say, okay, Mercury says, think about it. Venus says, get in relationship with it. Mars says, do something about it. Jupiter says, make it bigger. Saturn's, do you see how there's just a slight difference between each vibration, and they're going to be having conversations about all of these things. And yes, they feel inherently close to one another, and there's an intimacy there. So there would be an ease in talking about this. I can't honestly say that I've been really tight with a Five of Spades or a Seven of Hearts. I've known a handful of Seven of Hearts in my life, and one of them was very strange, and the other was very sweet but tangential. You could look above and below your cards too. So for the Seven of Diamonds, I could look at the Ace of Clubs or the King of Diamonds and say, how do I feel about those connections? Because they influence the vertical hand, which we don't really talk enough about. I don't know. I have a certain resistance to talking about it. I don't know why. Okay, I'm probably going to close this out in a few minutes. Do you have any other questions? Do you want me to, any question whatsoever, but especially about where your card is aspected to the United States this year. That's so true. Always in my relationships, I always contribute to people's financial lives through guidance and advice. Yeah, that's because the Four of Diamonds is Mercury. That's really cool. The Eight of Hearts would be more likely to give money because it's their Venus. And the Six of Clubs is more likely to actually do something about it, or even give them a job. And I know that about Six of Clubs. Yeah, isn't that interesting? My guides are saying, look at the Venuses of the Jack of Diamonds. So this year, Americans in relationship with each other, Four of Hearts, how can we help people feel safe? Feel safe. And the ascending Venus is, okay, 10 of Clubs position. So here we're sitting down here, and 10 of Clubs position would be sharing information, but also the Seven of Spades. How can we get around our stuckness? And that's all about this book that I'm writing, Little Things. It's all about little easy workarounds for big obstacles in our lives. Like, you want to get in shape, start by doing one push-up before you get in bed every night. Things like that. But the Seven of Spades, yeah, maybe it's about relating to people in adverse situations, people who are ill. Yeah, that Seven of Spades. It's also a card of faith. And sitting up here in the pinnacle, the Seven of Spades is in relationship with each other in order to say, hey, everything's going to be okay. Have faith. If you don't have faith in my faith. I'm connected. I know everything's good. Everything's going to be okay. I see good things for you. So that's a beautiful note to close on. Thank you so much for your participation. Sorry I was gone so long, but hey, that's life. So if there's any particular topic that you would like me to... Oh, I promised to throw a card. I promised to throw a card. Don't go away yet. I'm going to throw a card. I didn't throw a card for everybody on my other channel. So I'm going to do that now. This is just a general card for everybody here, everybody that sees this. One more. Wow. I still have my 8 viewers. I think about David Wilcock and his 5,000 viewers. Okay. Listening. Reversed. Listening. Oh, this is such a great card. I love it. Card number 53, which would be the Joker or, okay, 53. We'll read. Okay, so the general idea is be receptive, be in a position where you're really more deeply listening to the music of the moment. See the little music around him? An open heart will hear the message. When this card appears, you're being reminded that there is a time to speak and a time to be silent. Now is an occasion for listening. Pay attention not only to what is being spoken, but also to what is not being said at the moment, for the deeper message is not always obvious. Listen with your heart, not just with your ears, and you'll find clarity. Receiving the listening card is a fortunate sign and ensures a greater understanding of your circumstances. Reversed. Oh, can you speak of the 6 of Spades position in the mundane spread and why something bad tends to happen when sitting in this spot? That's a really great question. Okay, I'll get to that. Reversed listening. Are you feeling you're not being heard, that perhaps your needs aren't valid, that your song will go unsung? Now is the time to bring your message to the world. Speak up, especially if you're a Virgo. The astrology, man alive, the astrology has been so intense. It's time for your voice to resound throughout the sphere of influence. This is a moment to say what you mean and ask for what you want. In the reverse position, listening has another meaning too. It also asks if you're refusing to listen to someone else, preferring to hear what you want instead of what's being said. This is the time to get out of denial. Reverse, this card always brings freedom if you heed its advice. Okay, so does that help anybody? Yay! So the 6 of Spades, why do bad things happen when someone is displacing that? Well, I think it's about, since we're coming out of the Kali Yuga, it tends to be, I'm glad you put bad in quotes. It could be that it's just uncomfortable. It could be that it has to do with, I always think of the word balance instead of karma, paying your karma. You owe somebody something. It could be that someone owes you something. It could be that there's just a divine appointment. It's time to deal with this year. And so it maybe things have kind of piled up. Oh, I don't want to deal with that bad habit. I don't want to deal with that relationship. And then when that 6 of Spades, you're under its influence, it's like, now is the time. That's kind of now is the time. That's the meaning of the card, the karma card. And I think, coming out of the Kali Yuga, as I started to say, we're all dealing with past shit. And it's just, I think, okay, this can kind of, make us a little angry when I say this, but the idea that God is just experiencing myriad forms of him itself in a myriad of different expressions, and going down into the dark and becoming that which steals or, makes use of or oppresses. It's like just like the Sting song, he writes some interesting lyrics. One of them is about the cards too, which is really interesting. But 1,000 lives, 1,000 years. I've been all of them. I am a criminal in one life. I come back in the next life to judge another's crimes. I'm in the position of the judge. We're all trying on these different positions, and the 6 of Spades is the great balancer. How can we bring balance to your past experience? It reminds me of this yoga class I've been going to. She has a practice that you're holding a position for a long time. You're in this yin restoration thing. And then she's like, okay, now let's do the reverse stretch to get that out of our bodies. It's just balance. If you cooked for everybody in a past life, maybe this lifetime, all the men that you hook up with happen to be really great chefs. I think I did a lot of cooking in a past life. I only cook when I feel like it in this lifetime, but it can be the reverse. Whatever's kind of got you down, it's probably just bringing about balance, and you chose it. That's the whole big, takeaway. So cosmic sunflower, did I address that enough? It means something's coming to you that you need to come to you to come to balance. And it can be good or bad, pleasant or unpleasant. So since we've got so many people watching, let's do a little spread of the cards to see what's coming up for us as a nation, because I'm just like really curious. What's coming up in the immediate future? What's a healthy response to it, or what do we need to look at in terms of our own response to it? And then what's the result going forward? Okay, so I'm going to cut the deck a couple of times. Okay, thank you. I'm glad I addressed it. Oh, these cards just almost fell. Okay, so what's coming up is the Three of Spades. How we deal with it is the King of Diamonds, and the fallout is the Seven of Hearts. Two of Hearts is on the bottom. So what's coming up immediately is that some actual things are going to transpire. A lot of things that we've heard might happen are actually going to begin to happen. Like, there were these videos over several countries in Europe of what looked like very colorful debris coming streaming through the sky the way meteors do, but these weren't meteors. So I think that's evidence of actual space battle that we are involved in. Things actually happening. Maybe the power is actually going to go down. Maybe there will be temporary outages all over the place. Maybe there actually is going to be a financial, have your cash on hand. I think what this means is things are actually going to happen, which could mean good things too. How are we being tempered? How are we being asked to temper our response to it? What's important to you? What are your values? How can you stay in your integrity? That's what this would mean. How can you have mastery over your own value system and say, I'm going to act in accordance with my values. I'm going to do the right thing according to my integrity. They're saying it's important where he sits. The King of Diamonds sits here where my thumb is, which is Mars, Venus, integration of masculine and feminine. Ooh, that's really important. How can I have compassion and empathy, be in touch with my feelings about it, and how am I called to take action? Kind of like, how can I be my own mother? How can I be my own father? Or mother to the collective, father to the collective. Interesting. We'll analyze the kings in another video because his head is full of clubs. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 6 of clubs in his hat. So he's thinking about what is the karmic agreement here. And he's got this little empty hand over here. Why does he have such little hands? That's so weird. Okay, what is the result? Going forward, the 7 of clubs, discernment. So, when you see something, when you hear something, there's wars and rumors of wars. I do believe we're in the end times or something like it. There's a lot of disinformation, fake news, manipulation, mind control, the tapes. There's a lot of shit out there. And the 7 of clubs says, what is in your power is to act within your integrity. Be discerning. Pass it through a sieve of some kind. And you can do this with information, but I've done this with like entities that come into my field, and they might come in and say, I'm an angel. And I'm like, I don't know who you are. I've never encountered you before. At least I don't know. I'm feeling a little cautious. I'm going to put you in my box of light, and you have to tell me the truth. What is your name? Just like Jesus asked the demons. You can do this with information too. I've never even done it before, but it's like, okay, I heard this little bit of information. I'm going to put it in this box of light, try to detach, and see what I feel. So this represents attachment and non-attachment to our ideas. 2 of clubs is the environment card. It's sitting in the bottom, and it means there will be a lot of conversations. There's going to be a lot of talk. There's going to be a lot of even conversation within yourself. And whenever I see this, I always address the question, how are you communicating? What is the tone? How are you talking to yourself? Are you being kind? How are you talking with this other person? Look at what's right underneath it. This really is about the national conversation. So it's so important to just be kind with the person that's in front of you. And even, the news that you're hearing, if you really disagree with something that you're hearing, try to extend compassion to whoever that's coming through, because God knows why they're saying it. They have a life, maybe, unless they're an NPC, but they've got a life, they've got a family, they go home, they eat dinner, they get sick, they have people they care about, maybe a sick mother, So let's be kind, okay? And remember your crayons. The inner child really needs to be soothed. A lot of soothing, because they're overwrought with fives, which is like, I don't know. I felt myself going into that early this morning, and I was like, why do I feel so unstable? That Two of Clubs energy is so volatile at times. Absolutely, because it's black or white. It's one or the other. And that's why one of these court cards has the Three of Clubs in their hat, because in their crown, because it's the wisdom that it's not one or the other, that it's more complicated than that. And, openness is called for. But I think there will be a lot of, and can we just acknowledge there are things that none of us know, and God's got this, and there's maybe a transcendent reality. And yeah, if you get into that didactic with somebody, try to affirm that, if you can't find neutral territory, you can at least affirm, well, there's a lot that we don't know, right? And you can end there and just be like, but I do know. I know my heart. I know your heart. That's where my daughter and I had to end up a couple of years ago when I was, researching the 17th letter, and she was experimenting with, I'm not even going to say the word, but it's a group that seemed to be advocating for another group, but then they ended up being really violent, and they wear black and had a lot of expensive equipment. And she was, no, she wasn't with them. She was with the softer one that has 3 letters that are similar to the Bureau of Land Management. I was like, okay, I don't trust your group, but I trust you. And she's like, I don't trust your group, but I trust you. Yes, my plants are doing so well. Thank you. That is so sweet. This tree, I think, needs to go back on the floor, because she's like, oh, what is this above my head? I feel a glass ceiling here. Okay, so anyway, I love you guys, and I will be back. Let me know in the comments. I do check comments after videos, so you can leave a comment at any point. And just, if you have something that you would like me to explore, please don't be shy. If there's something that's really, because of the 68 spread, okay, we're all in this together. If there's something that's really niggling at you, chances are we're going to find it in here, and you're not the only one. So please don't be shy about saying, hey, would you please cover, I got this thing with my mother-in-law, let's look at this particular relationship. Anyway, love you guys, and have a really great rest of your day. Thank you for all of your comments and your participation. Have a truly wonderful, peaceful day, and be very soothing to your inner child. Tell them everything's going to be okay, even if you don't know for sure. They need to hear that. Okay, bye.